Okay, second part of 6.3. Starting at number 39. Number 39 lists 39 through 70, lists all those angles, and what they're asking you for is the answer, which is easy, and the reference angle, which is more of an understanding issue. The answer is easy because you can do one of two things. You can use your unit circle, count those degrees up and find them, or you can just plug it in a calculator. It will spit you out the answer. Or if you can find a chart online, that will spit you out the answer. That's easy. This is usually where I start saying you don't have to understand internal combustion to drive the car. You can answer these problems without understanding trig. You don't have to be a total and complete math nut to work into this and actually be able to do it. You can do it now. Understanding is the end of the learning process, not the beginning. The mechanics are the beginning. You can use a wrench even though you don't understand leverage and torque. You can do these problems. If all you need to get out of this class is just to do the problems, that's fine. You don't have to become an expert. This is like playing sports. You can play and enjoy basketball without becoming a professional basketball player. You could play football all through high school and all through college even, and then go on and be a businessman. It doesn't matter. You can enjoy something and learn it for the sake of learning it, or even just learn it to get through a class. You don't have to become a professional, which means you don't have to understand every little bit there is to it. Because if it's not what you're going to do, you don't even need it. Now, if you're going to be a race car driver, yes, you probably need to learn how internal combustion works and torque and leverage and friction and all that, because that's what makes you good at that. But to drive the car, you don't need that. So, I did the first three like you would do if you were going to do the understanding, and then I just answered the last bunch. I didn't even do the unit circle answer. I think I plugged them all in the calculator. Some of them I can see what the unit circle answer should be because I have done this a lot more than you have, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to explain the first three and then we'll let it go. Okay, so, and I drew the little picture for 39. If you count 150 degrees on that unit circle, here's your 0, all the way to 150, you will get the answer of negative square root of 3 over 2 for the cosine, which is pretty much the x coordinate. And that would make sense. If I started here and here's my origin and I swept all the way around, to get from here to the end of this one is a negative direction. I would go negative. Now, technically that is not the reference angle they're asking about. The reference angle is always the smallest angle to the horizontal. So even though I started here and counted 150 degrees, the reference angle is just that little 30-degree jump I need to get to the horizontal. The reference angle is always that jump. Sometimes it's a jump up. Like on the next one where I've got negative 225, which means I'm starting at my 0. Negative is counting clockwise, so it'll be 0, negative 90, negative 270, or negative 180, and then this is negative 270, so that's too much. So somewhere in here is that negative 225, somewhere on this quadrant over here. Now, what I do is usually subtract 90 degrees from it or 180. So if I do 225 minus 180, that leaves me with that 45 degrees. That's the reference angle. That little bitty distance from the line I drew back to the horizontal. And number 41, the negative 135, I start here and count round negative 135 degrees. My reference angle is from that line up to the horizontal. The reference angle is whatever that jump is from wherever your line is to the horizontal. It will always be 90 degrees or less. Your reference angle needs to be between 0 and 90. These little positive and negative answers are what's going to orient me on that circle. And a little later, I'm going to completely ignore those positive and negatives. Because when you're learning stuff, you don't need to know every single detail. I try to teach the way I would coach somebody to learn a sport. You're not going to sit an 8th grader down at a football team and explain to them why you need to hold exactly this lace or kick in exactly. You're just going to let them do it for a little while. If they like it, if they're good at it, if they show the desire to learn all the details, then yes, you start saying, well, the 3rd lace is more important than the 4th lace, and the spin is more important than just the direction. But you don't need that to learn it. You need to get started, jump in, flounder around a little bit, learn some stuff, and decide if this is the best thing you never knew or the worst thing anybody made you ever learn. And then life goes on. So there's 3 with reference angles labeled. If you want to do the rest of the reference angles, you can do 1 or 2 things. You can Google it. If you would like to see them, if you let me know, I'll do a couple more and load them just for you to look at with the reference angles on them, or pick a few that you don't understand. I don't care to do the extras. But if all we're doing is getting through the class, I've explained it to you, you've seen it, plug that stuff in a calculator and move on.